what's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Madden 25 Team Builder franchise. Here on this Madden 25 game, we're taking over today in triangles, where we're off to such a great start in year number 2, man. We were 5-1 at one point. We was looking like a lock to be in the playoffs, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves in a little bit of a dogfight. 5-4 is now our record, and now we gotta really lock in here in the second half of the season if we want to make the playoffs. It starts in this episode here today, where we go on the road to take on Birmingham, play the Arizona Hotshots at home, on the road to take on the Minnesota Blizzard, and then finally returning to home to play against the San Antonio Brahmas before we get into our bye week finally. I think it's going to be a much needed bye week as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, man. Make sure you go ahead to smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do have to be brand new. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the video, man. But we'll get things started here in this episode as we actually prepare to go ahead and get things set up in terms of how we going to prepare against Birmingham, because what we've been doing like these past few weeks, like, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all, man, like, it just has not been working whatsoever. So we need a plan of action. We definitely do need that plan of action against Birmingham. And you know, they were right. You know, their offense can cause problems for their defense, because every offense that we've gone up against, it seems like, has caused problems to our defense in some way, shape, or form. And really what I need from our DBs is just be better with the play recognition. I feel like there's a lot of play actions, more play actions than actual like runs per se. So we got to be better at the play recognition for sure. And then also, before we get into this game, we actually do have a couple of upgrades for some of the notable players on our team. One of them is Chris Saxon. Chris Saxon has clearly shown he's not only the #1 receiver on our team, but also maybe one of the best wide receivers in the league. He's quickly climbing up the ranks, and we're going to give him some playmaker to try to build him up some. He's now up to a 90 overall, and the crazy thing is, Chris Saxon has not been in the professionals for very long at all. This is only his 3rd year in the league, and Chris Saxon is already a bona fide superstar, which we absolutely love to see. Now, the other player that we are taking a look at is Von Red, and Von Red is someone that is a rookie on our football team. He's one of our earlier draft picks that we brought in to try and, you know, get a future starter at, because I felt like we were definitely a little bit weaker at defensive end. So we're going to give Von Red the upgrade of speed rusher, and he moves up to a 70 overall, so is becoming a lot closer now to having that long-term goal of him starting for us come into fruition, as he gets a +2 to finesse moves. So let's go ahead and jump into the first game that we have in this episode, as we are going to be taking on the Birmingham Stallions, like I said. And, you know, this is why we wanted to plan for Birmingham. The Stallions have been one of the best teams in the league here in year number 2, coming in with that crisp 7-2 record. And so we got to give it our A game if we want to take down Birmingham, and that's what I'm talking about. You know, Ricky Roberts was there to try and make a play. He does get the incompletion, but man, would have been really nice if we came away with an interception, because very next play, same defender does get beat to the outside, as that will lead to Clay Mullen scoring for the Birmingham Stallions, as that will propel this Birmingham Stallions team to take a 14-0 lead. So we are not only a little bit down bad, but we could be on the verge of being down horrendous if we don't respond with a touchdown of our own. So we'll throw to the right-hand side. We do dump it off to Jason Bingham in the flat, and Jason Bingham is able to find a way to score some points for us. So we'll be able to find the end zone for the very first time. And with less than 5 minutes left, our defense is able to play well enough that we can go ahead and we can give ourselves the opportunity to tie this game up once again, where we'll hand it off to Paul Lashley, and Paul Lashley is untouched on his way into the end zone. Touchdown, triangles. And Dayton's going to be able to tie things up against the Birmingham Stallions. Looking pretty solid here on the road. Not liquid or a gas per se. So we love to see all of that and much more. But Birmingham is able to respond. They will get a touchdown on their next possession. So we're back at it again, trying to bounce back. Can we get a touchdown on our next drive? As I want to go deep downfield, challenging for Chris Saxton, but it ends up being deflected away at the last second. Really wanted to get Chris Saxton there involved, but not going to happen. But we will see him open on the very next play, though, and Chris Saxton is going to be able to get out of bounds. But Andrew Collar is going to take a knee. He actually hurts himself. Might have done something to that ankle. Hopefully it's not a serious injury. But Lakefield, our backup quarterback, he's going to come into the game just trying to make sure that, hey, don't turn the ball over. We're going to get a field goal out of this most likely. We just got to be able to push this ball down the field as Jason Bingham gets pile drive into the ground. But you can tell that Wakefield does have an excellent connection with Jason Bingham. And so it leads to a 1st and goal. But Wakefield is going to take a sack on the very next play. Eric Carey, to add a little bit of insult to injury, he hurts himself as well. And really are getting to a point where we are starting to see those injuries pile up quite a bit, if we're being honest with ourselves, especially on the offensive line. Thankfully, for another one of our offensive linemen, James Smith, it was only an elbow sprain. He is able to return back into the game. But 3rd and goal, though, Wakefield trying to dump it off to Grayson Heineck, but we don't give him nearly enough space. The idea was certainly there, just not the execution of it. So we did have to eventually settle for a field goal. And hopefully that particular field goal, it does not haunt us, at least not too terribly much. With that being said, so Birmingham is going to be able to take possession of the ball to get things going here in the second half. We do have a 3-point lead because we actually do score off screen, which, you know, I really love to see. Don't love to see this next play right here where they do a play action. Brad Pierce is absolutely all alone, and Brad Pierce is going to find Cameron Cleenan into the end zone for a touchdown. But the good news is, though, is that Andrew Collar does end up coming back into the game, and we have a chance to score some points of our own as we find Grayson Heineck down the sideline, nearly able to find the end zone, but it's going to be pushed out inside the 5-yard line, as it will end up setting a goal line situation, as Paul Lashley is going to be able to punch it into the end zone. Touchdown Triangles, as Dayton is going to be able to take the lead with their superstar running back, Paul Lashley. And that is going to make it just a field goal difference. We're only up by 3, though, so it's important that we do try our best to keep Birmingham out of the end zone. We'll see if our defense can stand tall when it matters the most. 1st and goal from the 8-yard line. They're going to run it yet again. A lot of open space. Nearly finds the end zone, but it's going to take a gang of Dayton defenders just to be able to bring him down. And they run quarterback power with Brad Pierce. And Brad Pierce is going to be able to run it into the end zone. It's a touchdown for the Stallions. And so that puts us in a game-winning drive situation. Still, we've got a 4-point game. 3 minutes left in the matchup. As Collar's going to drop back, wants to throw over the middle and finds Paul Lashley. But Paul Lashley actually cannot bring it in. It actually ends up being an incompletion. So we'll have to go ahead and try once more here on 2nd and 10. Don't love the looks, but tries to throw to the right-hand side. We wanted Leon Thomas, but Leon Thomas could not box out Brian Turner. And so Brian Turner's going to get the interception. And it looks like that interception could be the difference unless we get a stop here defensively. Keep them out in the end zone. They hit us with a play action on 2nd and long, as Birmingham does get another massive 1st down. So that does mean with 2 minutes left in the ball game, we are going to see Birmingham with a chance to put points on the board again, which Their tailback is going to be able to get across the goal line. It's a touchdown for the Stallions. And so Joseph Moore is probably going to do more than enough to help put us away here. But we still got a minute left. We do have a couple of timeouts. Going to be imperative that we either, get big plays down the field, or what we can also try and do is try and take a quick field goal and then go ahead and try and settle for the onside kick. But in the meantime, though, we do end up seeing Andrew Collar have a really nice run on the way to the end zone, as Andrew Collar is going to be able to score there. But unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit too little too late, as our defense simply did not have any of the necessary answers. We end up losing 42-37. What was a fun shootout, though. So another game that ends up being played, and another heartbreaking loss for us, man, is we actually had more yards per gained. We had over 500 yards, whereas Birmingham had 422. But Birmingham, really the big difference here was the turnovers. They did do a much better job of taking care of the football than we did, and that was ultimately the difference maker. We did also see that they were better in the red zone, slightly more than what we were. So those little things really cost us this game, as we end up dropping yet another one. Andrew Collar was still solid and not a liquid or a gas, though, as he goes 29 for 44, 418 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw a couple of interceptions in this game. He did end up getting hurt, so that did create some room for Joey Wakefield to step in. And in his only drive of the game, was efficient, 4 for 4 with 35 yards. Did lead to a field goal at the very least. So at least there's that. Andrew Collar was our leading rusher, which is kind of crazy to think about. He did find an end zone on the ground, but really want to get Paul Lashley more involved into the game plan. Seems like, in more of these shootouts, it might be a key to get Paul Lashley more involved, because of the fact that, listen, we want to make sure that we are doing a little bit better job of time control, that kind of stuff. He did have 2 touchdowns today. Jason Bingham handled a few carries. But speaking of Jason Bingham, though, the man led the team in catches and yards today. He had a huge performance, catching 11 balls for 129 yards and a touchdown. Leon Thomas was also able to have over 100 yards on the day. Really, a lot of our main receivers had good performances, to be honest with you. And then Paul Lashley was able to get a receiving touchdown as well. So Paul Lashley had 3 total touchdowns. He's going to be doing just fine. But again, man, that defense really is letting me down right now. I thought we took steps forward with our defense, but clearly that is not the case. Dylan Wright did lead the team in tackles, while Peter Townsend was not too far behind with 8. Harold Perez was the only sack that we got, and it just goes to show that we need to continue to improve our pass rush. I think building a better pass rush is going to really help with our issues that we're seeing kind of on the back end, just letting them really survey the defense a little bit too long. But to give Harold Perez credit, Harold Perez did force a fumble and ended up recovering it, so at least we have that to look forward to. But overall, not a good day for our defense, and that's another reason why we lost, to be honest with you. So at least, even though we did end up losing this game in heartbreaking fashion, we do end up getting a couple of upgrades. One of those upgrades is going to go to Peter Whiteside. Now, Peter Whiteside is someone that probably normally would start, but I wanted to see what that development trade is on our offensive lineman. He is certainly one of the better backups that we have, not only on the team, but in the entire league as well, I would say. So we improve his power. He does get +2 to awareness, among other things, and even though he is taking a morale hit, he's still sitting at 76 overall, so still a pretty good player for us, all things considered. And then also one of our backup corners, Jared Strong, is going to get looked at here as well. Now, Jared Strong is starting to develop into kind of that jack of all trades, right? But really isn't great at one specific thing. So he's our 3rd corner right now, so I definitely want him to be like a little bit better in the slot for us. And he does get a +2 to man coverage, press, and zone coverage as well. He does get up to a 71 overall, which means that he's someone that we can actually put on the field in those cases where we are going to a nickel or dime defense. But the injuries continue to roll on our offensive line, as now we have a third offensive lineman that's hurt. It's James Smith. James Smith also happens to dislocate his elbow in that loss to Birmingham, so he's out for a month. And so that means we are now down 3 starters. Barry Elfman, who may come back next week, but that's questionable with that foot fracture. And then we're still also another couple weeks out with Eric Carey on the pine with his dislocated elbow. So depending on what our starting offensive line looks like next week, we might have to go into free agency and get a stopgap signing of some sorts. But in the meantime, we did end up advancing to a brand new week, and we have even more players getting some upgrades here, and Grayson Heineck is one of them. Now, I'm a huge Grayson Heineck person. I think he's one of the better young tight ends in this league, man, so I'm glad that we're getting another skill point. We're going to devote it into being that vertical threat for us, as he gets a bunch of upgrades, most notably +2 to short route running. As you can see, he does have that superstar dev trait, which we absolutely do love to see. But that's not the only upgrades that we are going to get. Both of these other upgrades are going to go to like younger backups that are on this team. On the defense side of the ball, Brandon McCollum is one of those upgrades and is sitting at a 70 overall right now. So he's a decent little ball player here. While he doesn't see an improvement in overall, he does get a +2 to finesse moves and power moves. So another usable player in a pinch if we need an extra linebacker. And then Saquon Bernard is one of our backup guards that we may need to rely on here, as Saquon Bernard is going to be able to get +2 to run block and run block finesse. That'll take him up to a 68 overall. But before we get into the second game as well, we have a conversation with our offensive coordinator, Marshawn Wallace. And in this conversation with Marshawn Wallace, we decide that Leon Thomas, he's been doing some good work for us as our number 2 wide receiver. So what we'll end up doing here is we're going to go ahead, we're going to give him a shot at a game dev upgrade. Get him 4 receptions, 100 yards, maybe like sprinkle in a touchdown here or there. But the biggest thing that I want, man, is I just want to win. I really just want to win a game here in this episode, or just in general. I mean, we're on a 4-game losing streak as of right now. It has simply not been pretty. But let's see if we can go ahead and try and turn things around here. 3rd and 2 coming up. We're going to drop back to pass as Collar just runs out of time in the pocket here. Thankfully, one of our offensive linemen does stumble on the ball. But in terms of we thought about going for it, now that we took that sack for as much as we did, we are going to go ahead and just punt that ball away. So, opportunity for us to come out here and maybe take an early lead against the Arizona Hotshots. That just was not necessarily there, though, as we'll go ahead and get things rolling here once more. Trying to get some semblance of a drive going, as neither team has been really able to find any rhythm offensively. But on a 3rd and 5, we had a chance to throw to the right-hand side, and we wanted Grayson Heineck. And I don't know how Cameron Horn won this ball. I am genuinely shocked that we did not even get like an incompletion or something like that, because Grayson Heineck was definitely in front of him. That might be one of those profound like Madden interceptions, so to speak. But sometimes it is what it is. We just got to go ahead, ball out on top. We just got to keep rolling with the punches. And even though we haven't had our way offensively, we stalled out a couple of times so far, we have actually done a pretty good job defensively for a change. So I got to give credit where credit is 100% due, as we're looking at a chance to finally take the lead. Can we finally see some points scored here towards the end of the first half? I would absolutely love that if that was the case. And sure enough, Chris Saxton almost gets us into the end zone there. I actually thought he managed to find his way in, but they are going to mark him short at the 1-yard line, where Collar's going to look to his right. He finds an open Jason Bingham, who's going to be able to find his way into the end zone. And that is going to be a touchdown again for the Dayton Triangles. We get another score up on the board, and so we have this 7-0 lead. But can we also keep Arizona out of the end zone? No. This is a big play downfield, and that's going to give Arizona a legit shot at finding the end zone before the end of the first half. And sure enough, looking over to right inside, that could have been a touchdown if that ball was better thrown. Thankfully, we got away with one there. It ends up just being a field goal attempt. So 7-3 is going to be your score there. And I think it's at a point where Andrew Collars is kind of seeing ghosts a little bit. You know, doesn't necessarily trust what his eyes are telling him. So maybe we just got to get some plays out to where Andrew Collar feels a little bit more comfortable. As Lashley able to make a man miss in the open field. What a spin move there. In order to create the space, needed to pick up the first down. That was a great open field move there. And now we're cooking with gas here. First and goal. Trying to set up a little play action. Got a man open down the middle, and it's Chris Sexton into the end zone. And that's a touchdown for your Dayton Triangles, as we will be able to extend our lead. Now, we do end up missing the extra point, which is not great. But, hey, we got a 10-point lead, and that lead is going to grow. What a run by Paul Lashley. Oh, my goodness. That shit was on fire. Paul Lashley making some things happen here, man. You love to see it. So now we got ourselves a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. And I love when we have the lead going into the fourth quarter, because that gives us more incentive to give the ball to Paul Lashley more, who's been cooking all day today. But not as much as Chris Sexton in man coverage. Sexton going to find the end zone again. Touchdown Triangles. That should be enough to seal the deal, but Arizona actually goes like a warp speed after that offensively. They score next 10 points, and after we fail to pick up a first down on our last drive, all of a sudden, Arizona actually has a chance to force this game into overtime. Looking to the left-hand side, and that is going to be caught somehow for the completion. Extremely tight window to be able to get out of bounds too. As now, their quarterback's going to drop back, looks to run inside, and I have a feeling this might be roughing the passer. And actually, no, it's not. Raphael Robinson gets caught for the holding. So it's going to be 1st and 20 instead. We're on the very next throw. They go over the middle, and there's Ricky Roberts making a key interception when it matters the most. Let's go, baby. The losing streak is officially going to end. We will hang on and beat the Arizona Hotshots 27-20. This was a game that we needed. We needed to find a way to hold on and win this game, because, man, it feels good to get that losing streak gone. And listen, I'll tell you what, guys, we really tried our best to try to blow this game in the fourth quarter. I mean, the Arizona Hotshots came in smoking hot here in the final quarter of the game, but our defense was able to actually get a stop for us when it mattered the most, and it just feels so good at the end of the day to get that losing streak off of our backs for a change. Now, I am concerned about Andrew Collar going forward, though, because Andrew Collar has been pretty mistake prone here. 29 for 39, has thrown for 3 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions in this game, and he threw a couple in the last game as well. Just hasn't been as sharp as what we typically would like to see him. And maybe it might be one of those things where we absolutely need to get Paul Lashley going here. 12 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown. He did have a solid performance in this one. Plus, Andrew Collar did have a fumble, so that's another thing about those turnovers. Thankfully, we did recover that. Receivers, this was not as productive a day as what we normally would see. Chris Sexton did have a big day, 10 catches, 80 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. Nobody else really stood out. Leon Thomas is not going to be able to get his development upgrade. He's going to fall a little bit short of that. We needed 4 catches and 100 yards. Jason Bingham did find the end zone, though. And then defensively, listen, defense been playing a lot better, at least in this game, than what we saw in the last few games, it feels like. Peter Townsend did lead the team in tackles with 8 total tackles, and Ricky Roberts did end up with 7. Cameron Spencer was the only sack of the game that we had on our football team, but we did have multiple interceptions. Ricky Roberts had the game-winning interception for us that improves our record to 6-5. While Niles Cotton, the fifth-year player out of USC, he was actually also able to get an interception for us as well, which we definitely love to see. So even though we didn't win the turnover battle, we still found a way to win the game, and that's the most important thing. And not only do we get the win, but we also get an upgrade for another one of our offensive linemen here in Seth Knowles, who is one of the backups on the team. I want him to be a little bit more of a scheme fit, so we're going to go with the agile upgrade, and he's actually going to move himself up as a natural 65 overall. We get +2 to lead block, plus a +3 to run blocking as well, so we certainly love to see both of those things unfolding for sure. Alright boys, so before we get back into the game action here, man, Greg Sharp actually gets an upgrade for us, and he is one of the rookies on our team that we're going to go ahead and give a speed rush boost. And originally he was a temporary 72 overall, but now he's an actual 72 overall, +3 to block shed, +2 to finesse, +2 hit power, and a +2 to power moves, man. This is the kind of stuff that I love to see. He's going to be a future starter on our football team, and I could see that happening as soon as next year, to be honest with you. Alright, man, so we won one game, but let's see if we can go ahead and win 2 games in a row as we now travel to take on the Minnesota Blizzard. As Minneapolis Blizzard, they have struggled through year number 2. They are just 3-8 going into this game, but you never know how things can go in the professional leagues. There's not as there's a little bit more parity between the top teams and the lower tier teams, and maybe what you would see in average major college football, as they're going to see a rollout to the left, and that is going to be broken up by the superstar Peter Townsend, who's able to play the ball extremely well. And that is going to lead to a 2nd and 10 where we're able to line him up like a Christmas tree. Ricky Roberts is able to bring him down. And it's going to be 3rd and 17. Let's see if we can make something shake here on this 3rd and 17. Can we get to this quarterback yet again? It looks like they set up some kind of screen for the tailback. This could be trouble down the sideline, and he scores. He scores a touchdown on a 3rd and 17. Are you actually kidding me right now? Otis Casey making our defense look stupid right there. And we're going to be down 7-0 now, as we'll try and find some sort of rhythm offensively ourselves. We haven't found the end zone yet, but doesn't mean that we can't. We do find a wide bit naked open Grayson Heidick, who's able to get us a 1st and goal inside the 5-yard line. As now 2nd and goal from the 3. We're going to hand it off to Paul Lashley, who's able to run it into the end zone. Touchdown, Dayton. And the Gym City is able to tie things up with Minneapolis, at least temporarily, because jumping into the 2nd half here, we do see that once again, Minnesota does have the lead on us, and this could get a little bit bigger as we throw an interception. There's not really much for our man to go with the ball, so Larry Haas is going to get the interception here. Hopefully it doesn't lead to points the other way for Minnesota. And unfortunately it did. It does lead to a field goal. So now we're down by 10 going into late into the 3rd quarter. We might be a little bit of a danger zone type of situation right now. Andrew Collar trying his best to lead his team, throw that interception on that last possession, but trying to make up for it. This should be able to make up for it though, finding Chris Saxon in the middle of the field, finding the end zone. It's another touchdown for this Dayton football squad. It's going to be able to cut it down to just a field goal. However, jumping into the 4th quarter of action, I need a stop from our defense. Can we get that stop? And unfortunately, we do not, because we gave up that soft spot in the zone. Just diabolical work, unfortunately. And so now it's going to be a continuance of the drive for Minnesota, who now has chance to put points on the board and they are going to do it. This time, they find Brandon Covington in the end zone there. And with less than 5 minutes left to play in the game, we're down by 10. Desperate times do call for desperate measures, so we are going to go for it. But Collar has nowhere to go with the ball. He has to take the sack. And I definitely feel like this game is starting to slip away from us at an alarmingly fast rate right now. Second and short coming up after Minnesota took over as their tailback Otis Casey's going to take it to the outside. We could not maintain leverage, and so it's going to be another walk-in touchdown for Otis Casey, his second one on the day. And now we find ourselves down by 17 points, where we're just desperately trying to make anything happen here. At least this time around we do get a completion, but they give us the first down there, which I was actually surprised about. I thought that Paul Lashley was a little short, but with that being said, though, really got a chance to maybe at least finish this game strong, try to get some points on the board. We definitely have to do it quickly, that's for sure, as Collar's going to look over to right-hand side and wanted to get it out to Leon Thompson, but Cumberland is going to be able to break that up with ease. It's going to lead to a 3rd and 10. Not a spot that we want to be in, but this is what we got going on. Collar throws to the right-hand side, and it's a dot. It is a dot to Grayson Heidick. Do you know how much of confidence it takes after throwing 3 interceptions to throw that ball? It takes a ton of confidence, and it ends up leading up to a Jason Bingham touchdown as well, which we do finish strong like I wanted to, but unfortunately, it's just not enough as we drop another game here in this episode. This time losing to a team that maybe we should have beaten, but lost convincingly. But this was a game in which we were just not really able to find much of a rhythm. It just came out flat as a football team, and that was prevalent by the fact that we lost 3-0 in the turnover battle, and that's a big reason why we lost to a team that came into this matchup just 3-8 going into today's game. And to be honest with you, the blame has to be put on Andrew Collar as he finishes with, while he finished with almost 350 yards and 2 touchdowns, he also threw 3 interceptions as well. So it seems clear to me that Andrew Collar has taken a step back, at least in his production, even though he is objectively a better player by overall. He was also our leading rusher with 6 carries and 27 yards because we didn't really get Paul Lashley the ball yet again. He had 7 carries, 20 yards, and a touchdown. Something that I want to look at in terms of run-pass splits, maybe in the offseason. Meanwhile, for a receiving game, Leon Thomas did have a good game today. He had over 100 yards receiving with 5 catches. A couple of different guys did find the end zone as well, with Chris Saxton and Jason Bingham both finding the end zone, but only 5 different receivers touched the ball today. And then defensively, we had our moments, but then, we also gave up some big plays yet again. Ricky Roberts did lead the team in tackles with 13 tackles, and Niles Cotton ended up with 9 tackles in the game. Plus, we generated good pass rush as well, with Matt Weaver leading the way with a sack and a half, while Ricky Roberts, Daryl McLeod, and Cameron Spencer were all able to get into the backfield. But we didn't force any turnovers, and again, that turnover differential was a huge reason why we lost a game that we really needed to win to keep ourselves in the playoff hunt. This game is certainly not going to help us. Now, after the game, we actually do have multiple upgrades that I definitely wanted to go ahead and do, and one of them is our starting quarterback. Even though Andrew Collar did struggle through this game, he does get enough XP in order to go ahead and get some more abilities. And so we will go ahead and put some into throw accuracy medium and throw under pressure. That's actually going to push him up to an 88 overall already. So, I mean, it does feel good that we do have a franchise quarterback on this team already. But Daryl McLeod, this is another person I'm actually pretty excited about as well. He's a certified starter for us, as Daryl McLeod does get some speed rusher abilities. He gets a +2 to play recognition and a +2 to finesse moves as well, which is extremely nice to see. Hopefully it makes our team better as a whole. But we do at least get another upgrade that we can utilize, and that is going to be Isaiah Connor as we get ready to play our next game, which is the San Antonio Brahmins. He is one of our backup offensive linemen, but a quality backup offensive lineman, sitting at 73 overall, but his weakest link is pass protection, and because we pass the ball so much, he is a little bit of a liability from that standpoint. We do get his pass protection up to a 65 thanks to a +2 to pass block power, but we don't really see any changes with his overall rating, at least not at this time. So let's go ahead and jump into the final game that we do have planned in this episode. We do get to return back to the comforts of home, take on this San Antonio Brahmas squad, and San Antonio also putting together a good season here at 7-4. As for us, it's definitely a must-win for us after starting the season off as well as we have. We gotta come out here, man. We gotta find a way to win this game. This could define our season. Really shows that we've gone completely from being a championship contender to a complete afterthought, it seems like. It's been a rough sailing ever since the first month of the season. But Paul Lashley here is at least going to do more than enough to pick up the first down here. It's going to provide us with our first red zone opportunity here late in the first quarter. So let's see if our boys can do something with that. Caller's going to throw over the middle, and there's nobody there to call Paul Lashley. And so he's going to walk into the end zone, at least up into the 1-yard line. And then Paul Lashley does the rest of the work. We find the end zone, and your Dayton Triangles are going to take the lead. However, San Antonio will respond with a touchdown of their own, and with 4:24 left in the second quarter, San Antonio is able to drive down the length of the field once again, as Jared Strong was there to make the tackle, but he also ends up hurting himself as well. So because he did end up hurting himself, we are starting to look a little bit more thin in our cornerback room outside of Peter Townsend and Paul Bass. And it kind of showed there as well. Doug Samuel was able to get an easy touchdown there, and that will allow San Antonio to take a 14-7 lead. So with that being said, really crucial drive coming up here, and it leads to a key decision point here, right? We have a chance to come out and possibly extend this drive, 4th and 1. We'll see if Andrew Caller can do something for us as we scramble to the outside. He wants to throw it, actually, but it's not going to work. I'm surprised that we did not run the ball there for Paul Lashley. A questionable call by the coaching staff, and San Antonio is going to take over with a chance to take some serious momentum into the final minute of this first half, and they're going to be successful in doing that. That's another touchdown for Doug Samuel, his second one of the game. And so San Antonio is actually going to build a pretty comfortable lead for themselves, at least somewhat. And so if our defense does not come up and make some big plays for us, we're going to be in a little bit of danger here. I'm not going to lie. 3rd and 9 coming up, though, as we have a chance to finally get the San Antonio team off the field, as their quarterback's going to drop back, looking over to the right-hand side. I'm there in the open space, and Jared Strong is able to bring him down. We love to see it. We're able to make the play in open space, and because of that, we're able to force San Antonio to settle for a field goal. And, you know, sometimes that's progress. So that is absolutely progress there for sure, as, you know, we're taking a look at a chance to, you know, try to claw back in those games, and that's the kind of plays that you got to make. You got to be able to make tackles in the open field. But also, you got to cover. And as you can see, we are having a hard time covering anybody. And so we're just essentially relying on our pass rush to try to get there quickly so that the quarterback does not have any time to make any sort of decision. We'll see if it works out for us yet again. It's 3rd and goal, trying to throw over to the middle. And it's going to be caught for yet another touchdown there, as San Antonio does score with DeAndre Mullen, who I believe is their backup running back. I'm not 100% sure, though. But what I do know is that we are in some deep shit right now. I mean, down 17, 5 minutes left in the game, and I need my quarterback to show up and play here. We need to make it happen. 1st and 10 coming up. Carl's going to run up the middle with Paul Lashley. And Paul Lashley is going to be able to get a good chunk of yards there. Nearly does enough to pick up the 1st down. Is now 2nd and 2 coming up. We throw over to right inside. Jason Bingham able to make a man miss in the open field, as he will end up finding the end zone. Touchdown, Dayton! As Dayton is going to be able to cut it to just a 10-point game. Is now 3 minutes left in the ball game. Defense got to make a big play here so that we can try to stay in this game a little longer. And honestly, man, that one was on me. That was my zone that I used her there. We messed it up. And, yeah, San Antonio was able to take advantage. You know, the all Madden with the, like the MAC-10 sliders. They are some brutal sliders defensively. Granted, we can do what we want offensively, but defensively, we are down horrendous right now. As that's going to be a dot to the corner of the end zone. Another touchdown for San Antonio. And I think at this point, the score or the winner of this game probably going to be pretty clear here. But one more possession for us here, trying to play purely with pride. As Andrew Collar just loads it up, does 10 underthrow Chris Saxon just a little bit. That could have been the difference between a touchdown and really being like brought down like that. But that being said, though, we do at least drive inside the 25-yard line. As now we got a 2nd and 10 coming up. Collar dropping back the pass. This is a big-time throw to Grayson Heidick, though. Able to get that stick and hide route going. That was really a true beauty of a route there. Ran by the star tight end, Grayson Heidick. As Grayson Heidick does score. But it will be, unfortunately, we're going to be well short here yet again. I mean, you know, score when the game doesn't matter. And, yeah, we take another loss here, man. Now, this was a tough loss for our guys to go ahead and swallow, because we outgained San Antonio. We actually did outgain them, but unfortunately for us, you know, San Antonio, they just made more of the plays at the end of the day. We had more turnovers, and they had more 3rd down conversions that kept their drives alive, and those were the 2 big differences in this ball game. Now, Andrew Collar did throw multiple interceptions in this game, but he did throw 4 touchdown passes, threw for 360 yards, and had a 67% completion percentage. Unfortunately, those 2 interceptions definitely did not help his case at all. And then it also doesn't help that Andrew Collar was our leading rusher today. 7 carries, 28 yards. Hard we got Paul Lashley the ball today because, well, the game script doesn't favor Paul Lashley getting the ball all that much, if at all. For the receivers, we did at least have 2 100-yard receivers in the game, as Chris Saxon does have over 100 yards, and so does Jason Bingham, who had 5 catches, 100 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. So at least, you know, we had 2 good performances from our receiving core. But the defense once again lets us down here. This has been the constant story of our team. Dylan Wright and Paul Bash each had led the team in tackles with 9. Greg Roberts and Niles Condon ended up with 7 total tackles in the game. And then we hardly got any pressure, to be honest with you. We did have 2 people share half a sack, and that was Harold Perez and Matt Weaver. But other than that, only forced 1 turnover, and that was Dylan Wright, who had the turnover. Just need a lot more from our defense, because giving up, you know, like 30 plus points a game, it's hard to win professionally when we're getting that kind of output from our defensive guys as a whole unit, even though we do have talented individuals. But even though we lose yet another game, we actually get a ton of upgrades, and some of these guys are starters that are on our team. Barry Alfman is certainly one of them, and Barry Alfman actually does end up having 2 skill points, and what we're going to go ahead and do is use both of those skill points and toss him into pass protection so that he can be a little bit more geared towards trying and being a scheme fit. He gets up to a 77 overall because of this. Andrew Collar is going to get another skill upgrade as well, even though he threw multiple interceptions, and he's now up to a 90 overall. He actually could be flirting with going to the NFL soon with how well he actually has been rolling. Paul Bass is another guy that's getting an upgrade, even though he did get burnt a couple of times in this game. Paul Bass does get a slot upgrade, and it's now going to be up to an 81 overall with +2 to multiple items. Anton Mills, another offensive lineman, is going to get some love here. We're going to work on his agility, and he is going to be up to a natural 78 overall. Kenny Beekman is also going to get a skill upgrades, and he will be getting some power upgrades as he got +1 to multiple items, but not really notable progress for Kenny Beekman. Connor Hank, we're going to work on his agility as well. He gets up to a 73 overall with +2 to pass blocking. And the last upgrade is to Jason Bingham, and Jason Bingham is going to get a playmaker ability. He's now going to be up to a very respectable 71 overall with a +4 to deep route. So now that we made it to our bye week, I wanted to take this opportunity to take a look at how things are shaking out in terms of the standings. Now, the Evansville Thunderbolts have ran away with the AFC North, and that's our division. They're sitting at a 10-3 record and could honestly clinch in the next couple of games to see, depending on how things turn out. Got Columbus and Pittsburgh both above 500, and then there's our team sitting in last place after we started the season 5-1, mind you, and now we've lost 6 of our last 7 games. And it's been a tough watch here as we get deeper into the season. In the AFC South, though, it seems a little bit more interesting as we got a two-way tie for the AFC South. The Birmingham Stallions and the San Antonio Brahmas, fresh off a win against us, they're tied at 8-4. And then the Houston Roughnecks are sitting at 500 right now with a 6-6 record. In the East, it looks like the AFC East is going to be one of the weakest divisions in football, as Boston does have a 6-6 record. That is a division leader. Everyone else is under 500 at the moment. In the West, Vegas once again putting together an excellent season at 9-3. And then the St. Louis Battlehawks, after a slow start, they're on a 6-game winning streak, and they are right back into the thick of things, competing for that playoff spot. Even San Diego is in a better spot than last season. On the other conference, though, we have a freeway tie for first in the NFC North, as the Michigan Panthers, Louisville Thoroughbreds, and the Chicago Enforcers are all tied and 6-6. The mediocrity division in the NFC, it looks like. South is also the same way, interesting enough, though. The NFC South also is a freeway tie at 6-6, with Arlington, the Atlanta Legends, and the New Orleans Breakers all tied at 6-6. In the East, however, the Charleston Dirty Birds again have one of the best records in the league. They're at 10-2, but only one other team above 500, though, or at least at 500 to begin with. That's New Jersey Generals. The rest of the division is not very good. The Charlotte Knights definitely regressed. In the West, we saw the Eugene Chiefs earlier this season, and they're leading the NFC West right now with an 8-5 record. Everyone else is sitting below 500 for the time being, and that's going to wrap up your standings update here as we are here in this bye week. But with the bye week now behind us and not really much to work on for the bye week, we are now closing in on those final 4 games of the season. And one of those 4 games is going to be an absolutely critical matchup within our division, taking on the Columbus Destroyers here, and we're going to do that here in the next episode. This is a big game for us. You know, you see where things are in the standings right now. We are 3 games behind in terms of making it to the playoffs, and so if we want to have any chance at the playoffs now, and this is, keep in mind, after such a amazing start to the season, we gotta win out, and winning out starts with beating this Columbus team in the next episode. So looking forward to fighting for our lives in divisional action, and let's see if we can get it done. That being said, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of the Madden Team Builder franchise here in Madden 25. here in the Spring League, man. And hopefully next episode we could do a little bit better on the field. But with that being said, guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you go ahead and smack that like button. And then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do have to be brand new to the channel. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off. But hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.